Welcome to eDay15. Today is Monday. We are going to work with systems of nonlinear inequalities, graphing them, and then tonight's homework is bookwork. We begin today with a warm-up, and I would really like you guys to try this warm-up on your own. Please pause this video now, and then you can come back and check your answers. Welcome back. Please take a second, pause the video, check your answers for the first problem, and then check your answers for the second problem. Moving on today we're going to do nonlinear inequalities. We've learned how to graph these problems during our conics unit, and we're just adding in the idea of the inequality dash solid and where to shade. So for our first problem, what you want to do is get it organized. And I'm going to write it with my x squared first. And then let's think about what this graph is. It is a parabola that is opening down. It's going to have a vertex that's shifted up 4. So let's go ahead and start with that. We're shifted up 4. And we're going to open down with our pattern. Our pattern is down 1 over 1. So 1 squared is 1. And then 2 squared is 4. The next question to ask yourself is this going to be dashed or solid? Looking at that inequality, it's going to be a dashed inequality. So connecting your dots with a dashed line, I would kind of extend this, your lines going down. And now how do we shade? Well, looking at this inequality, it says less than. So less than, if we come to where this intersects the y-axis, so it intersects the y-axis right here, and if we go less means down. If I start going down, you can see how I land inside my parabola. So you're either going to be inside or outside. And then you do want to shade all the way down. Those are all going to be solutions for that inequality. And now we're going to do the next one. This is just a line. I would actually organize it a little different. I would add 1 to the other side. So I have x plus 1 is less than or equal to y. Now, I always personally like to have my y on the left side. That way my inequality matches what I'm thinking for my shading. If I flip my two sides, I must also flip my inequality. This is just a line, y equals mx plus b. Our y-intercept is 1, and our slope is 1. So let's go ahead and start graphing that. Y-intercept is 1, and a slope of 1. And now, is this going to be dashed or solid? You were right, this one is going to be a solid line, so let's come back and connect those dots with a solid line. And that solid line actually does keep extending the whole graph. Oops. Try to get a little better line here. So there's my solid line. Now how to shade? This one says greater than. So find where it touches the y-axis. Touches right here. And greater means I'm going to go up. And when I start to go up, I'm going to be on this side, or this half of that line. Now remember, your ultimate goal is the solution to the system. So when we're looking for the system, we want to find where we have shading for both. So looking for our shading for both will be right in here. So this blue part. Anything in the blue part is going to be a solution to our system, and then they want a possible solution. And I'm going to pick the ordered pair 0, 2. The next one's going to be a parabola, and let's think about how it's being shifted. This is right 2 and up 6, has an a value of 1, and so with an a value of 1, that means it's going to follow our pattern. So right 2 and up 6, it's opening up because it was positive and following our pattern. So 1 squared is 1 and 2 squared is 2. From here, this inequality has greater than or equal to. For greater than or equal to, we're going to have a solid line. And then we want to think about where we're going to shade. Remember, this parabola does keep getting wider over on this side. So if you find where it intersects the y-axis and you say greater than and go up, that does land inside your parabola. Now the next one that we have is a line. I'm going to organize it so it's in the format y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to subtract my x over. Y is less than negative x plus 1. Now that this is in y equals mx plus b, we have a y-intercept of 1 and a slope of negative 1. So y-intercept of 1 and a slope of negative 1. This inequality is less than, so it's going to be dashed. So I'm going to connect these dots with a dashed line. And then it said less than. So find where it intersects the y-axis. And less than, if you start to go down, you're going to see that you're landing below the graph. So that line separates the grid into two parts. And now our ultimate goal is to find out what the solution is to the system. And since these do not overlap, there is no solution. Our next one, do you guys remember what this will look like? This is a circle. Where is our center? Our center is located at 0, 0. And what is the radius? The radius is 4. So if we have our circle starting at 0, and then we have a radius of 4, you can do your north, south, east, west lines. And we're going to connect the dots. It said it's less than or equal to. So with less than or equal to, we're going to do our solid line. And now we have to think about where our shading is. It says we're less than. Think of that as less than the radius. If we're less than the radius of 4, that means all the solutions, the radius will be inside the circle. So our shading is going to be inside. And for our next line, we need to solve to get it into y equals mx plus b form. So first thing we're going to do is subtract our x. And then the next thing will be divide by a negative 3. All right, what happens when you divide by a negative? That's right, don't forget to flip that inequality. That's a very important thing, or else your graph will be all messed up. So you want to flip that inequality, and then we have a positive 1/3 x minus 2. So our y-intercept is negative 2, and we have a slope of 1/3. Up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. You can reverse that. And this is going to be a solid line because it says equal to. And it told us that it was less than. So if we find where it touches that y-axis and we go less than, that means we're going to go down. And then when we go down, we're going to cut that grid in half, and this bottom half is where we shade. Now remember, your ultimate goal is what is the solution to your system? To the system, your solution is where you see both of your colors, and that would be shaded right in here. And if we're looking for a solution of the system, maybe I'm going to choose the order pair 1, negative 3, because that would be in my green area where both of my graphs are shaded. And one last problem here. This one wants you to write the system of inequalities. So let's first think about this parabola. This parabola has a vertex that's shifted up 3, but it's opening down. So we have y, and if it's opening down, we'll have a negative x squared. If it's shifted up 3, we'll say plus 3. It's going to have an equal to because it's a solid line. And it's going to be going less than is our shading, so less than or equal to. And then for the next one, our y-intercept is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it looks like, trying to line up our points here, our next point looks like it went down 2 over 1. So down 2 is -2 with a y-intercept of -5. Now this shading, if you find where it touched the y-axis, this shading was you were shading above. So this one's going to be greater than, and you're not going to use an equal to because it had a dashed line. So that concludes your lesson. Today's homework, you have some problems to graph. I would like them to be accurate. Remember, if it's using multiple points, like 5 points for a parabola, if it's a line, you need at least 2 accurate points. And there's some graph paper to make it easier for you. And this bottom part is just matching. This would be using like a graphing calculator screen. This is what it would look like, and it's matching your inequalities. This is eDay15. I hope you have a great day. Just email me if you have any questions at all. I'm happy to help. I can always hop on Zoom with you at any time. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and we will have a quiz. There's no quiz review, so be prepared and know that you've done all of your homework. It'll be on all 2x2 systems of equations.